All right, you need to have this page in front of you. This is ray tracing with lenses. This is ray diagrams. We've done this before, but I want to make sure to review it with you so you can remember how to do it. I will go ahead and tell you that this entire page, both the front and the back side, so part 3 and part 4, they're going to be homework for you and they're going to be due next time. All right, next time when I come back. These are really simple, right? For all of these, you only need to remember 2 rays, and these rays were discussed in the lenses notes. I'm going to do number 1 on both sides with you so that we can kind of remind ourselves, and then I'll give the rest to you. So there were 3 rays that we looked at with lenses. Really, with all of this stuff, we're only going to need 2 of them. So in all of these problems, you only need to draw ray number 1 and ray number 2. So ray number 1, hopefully you remember, first thing that ray number 1 does is it goes to the lens from the object parallel to the principal axis. All right, so that's the beginning of ray number 1. And at that point, this is a converging lens, and so ray number 1 will get refracted through the focus. Now you have to know that this lens is a convex lens, which has a positive focus, which means that the focus is on the opposite side from the object. There's our object and there's our focus. So we're going to refract this ray through the focus here. And on the right side of the lens, you're going to have a real ray. And remember, behind every refracted ray is a virtual ray. So back here on this side, it's going to come back as a virtual ray on the back side. So that's ray number 1. Ray number 2 is very, very simple. Ray number 2 for lens starts at the tip of the object and will go through the center of the lens. So it will be drawn like this. And remember, even though, well, see, this would be number 1 here, this would be number 2 here. Even though ray number 2 doesn't look like it, it is actually refracted at this point. It's just that it comes out parallel to the direction it was originally going. But remember that there is a refracted ray understood to be back here behind the lens, and we're going to draw that, depicted as a straight dotted line back here behind the lens. So virtual ray for ray number 1, virtual ray for ray number 2. So that's your completed diagram for number 1. You have ray number 1 and 2 there. Remember that the point of a ray diagram is to determine where the image is and what it looks like. So I know where the image is because this is where the rays cross. Image would be here. I started the rays above the principal axis and they ended below, so I know this image has got to be inverted. These are very important. The image is inverted. This image really looks like it's going to be reduced, but for this side only, for the part 3 side, I don't care about these questions, enlarged, reduced. But I do care about real or virtual. You should be able to tell that this is a real image because it is formed by real rays as opposed to virtual rays, which are back here on the same side of the lens as the object, and they do not cross. It's the real rays that cross and form the image. All right, so the rest of these on this side, I'm going to give those to you. You do those, make sure to answer these questions, and remember, I don't care on this side only. I don't care whether it is enlarged or reduced on all of them. I will tell you there is one on this side where all of the rays emerge parallel and therefore there's no image formed, and I'll leave you to find out which one it is. Go ahead and turn to the back side. On the back side, this is concave lenses. Concave lenses, the main difference is that the focus is negative, which means that it's on the same side of the lens as the object as opposed to the opposite side. But verbally, the rays do the same thing. So ray number 1 is still going to go parallel from the image or from the object to the lens, to the center of the lens, and it's going to be refracted through the focus. But remember, don't be tempted to run it through this focus because this is not the focus of the lens. This over here is. So take your protractor, run it straight through that focus. The refracted ray is going to be on the right side of the lens, and on the left side it is actually the virtual ray that goes through the focus. So that is the completed ray number 1 for a concave lens. it's verbally the same as ray number 1 before, except the focus is in a different place. The focus was on the right side over here, so we refracted it through the focus. It's still refracted through the focus, but it's refracted on a line that goes through the focus, and the focus is on the opposite side. Number 2 is easy because it looks the same. Still goes through the middle, the center of the lens. And remember, technically it is a refracted ray, so there is going to be a virtual ray that goes right alongside the real ray back here on the same side as the object. Alright, so that's your completed ray number 2 for a lens, for a concave lens. So notice here's where my 2 rays come together. They're both virtual rays. The real rays do not intersect. They diverge. The virtual rays converge. So it's going to be a virtual image. It's an upright image. And an image will look something like that. It's very small compared to what you have here. Upright because I know that the rays ended up above the principal axis and they started above the principal axis. And it looks like the image is reduced, upright, reduced, and virtual. I want all 3 of these answered on this. Again, this is part of your homework as well. All 3 of these questions answered for every single one of these, and I'll just go ahead and give you a hint. Same type of image with each one of these. Doesn't matter where it is, and I'll show you an example of our convex or concave lens here. As you can see through this, with a concave lens, you get the same small, upright, virtual image each time. So you should have the same answers to these questions over here. It's just that the ray diagram that you draw may look slightly different. All right. So this is due next time you come to class. But I want you to put it away for right now and find your notes on mirrors, your notes on lenses, your notes on refraction, and then take out 2 or 3 sheets of notebook paper because the substitute teacher is now going to give you instructions on the next activity you're going to do.